Welcome back, folks, to World of Warships Legends. This is the build and play guide for the Hyuga in all versions of it, the white, the black, the normal version. There's probably going to be 50 more versions in the upcoming time of this thing. This is a super well-liked ship. And I am in that same boat. I like it a lot. Now, I just started using a different commander, so I'm going to show you that build. In fact, we'll go over to the commanders real quick so you can see the two, and we're going to hide the Geises because I have Geises on it. But the new build we're using is Musashi, and I will show you that more in a second. But if you are going the free to play route, I've done that build for a long time. This is Tagagi, but it does have a Geist on it, so keep that in mind when you're playing it. Um, it- so the difference between these two commanders is, if you want, you can check out what I have selected: flammable cannoneer, gyrating drill bits, marksmanship, and reaching out XXL. So the difference between these two commanders is the base trait and the last perk. Everything else is the same. If you want to go the Tagagi route with the free to play route, you could use instead of Scharnhorst, you could do Cunningham and probably the Revel. Reload never hurts any ship. And for the Musashi build, we'll go back over here. So what you are giving up if you choose Musashi is just a little bit better heal, 4% or whatever it was on your heal, and you don't take reaching out XXL. So the reason I like Musashi, and I've just used it in a few battles and only once on the Hyuga, and the Hyuga loved it. And you'll see that match. But the reason I picked this setup is because the main active shell dispersion while spotter is active. In fact, I like this perk so much, or this commander, we're going to take it right up to 16 while you're watching here, because this is going to be my new Japanese commander. So you can see we get 7.6 dispersion while the spotter plane is active. Now, I think it was 6 when I played this game, so you can even see the small difference there. And the reason this is a big one for me on Japanese is, as you guys know, or if you don't, Japanese battleships have big guns, which are good, but they have times where they're pretty accurate, and then they have times where they're just all over the place. That's kind of the way all Japanese battleships are for the most part. This one is better than most, but the spotter, with the Japanese battleships, almost all of them, where you can get two shots in your spotter plane anyway. So having salvos that are just super accurate out of your spotter range, or your spotter, is going to be really good and helpful. So that's why I went with the Musashi over the health and the last perk, because the other perks are all the same, but the last perk here is a huge one, and I think people overlook this one a lot. So the spotter duration is plus 20%. That's not going to help you get an extra shot because you already get two on Japanese battleships because they have good reload time. The thing that helps here is the battleship AP fuse time. It's 20% lower. I think it was 15 when I did my match. And the lower time will help you get more citadels. And this is almost like my favorite perk with this, because Japanese battleships have such big guns that you end up overpinning a lot, even on other battleships. So to have this helps quite a bit. So for that, that's the build here, and I have Scharnhorst and the Revel. I may actually even take this because you'll see the reload time on this is real good. I might even take this off and put on Cunningham. That could be a good way to go. But or you could put Tagai's base perk of the heal. That way you get the best of both worlds. So we'll take a look at the setups here. So for upgrades, obviously main battery dispersion. I am always an accuracy guy. The more accurate I can get, the better I am. And on your second mod, you could do either of these, but in a battleship, in most ships in general, I like rudder shift just so I can dodge torpedoes quicker. But in particular, battleships, because I'm not really stopped ever in a battleship to uh, use this to start and stop. But you could do either, would be a good option. So loadout, as you can see, you can make sure you choose a spotter plane here over the catapult fighter. The spotter plane, as you can see on this thing, goes up to 36, so you even have time to get another shot in, which is really nice because then you don't have to use these reloads to get two shots in one spotter plane. These can be when somebody pokes their head out in a bad spot. You'll see it in the match. I'll talk more about that. And for specs, it's got decent health at the tier. The guns are uh, pretty darn respectable at tier 5. You have these, I believe these are 14-inch guns, and they reload 27 seconds, and Japanese has decent HE, but in this ship you should be using AP almost all the time. And the AA defense, um, it it's not as good as what this says. It feels like I'm always targeted by planes, and maneuverability. And this thing is not super quick, but it has a good rudder and it reacts pretty well, especially when you put that the rudder upgrade on it. Concealment is not good. It's a battleship. You're not sneaking up on a dead moose in the open. Statistics, you can see it. This is one of the earlier ships I had, and I still have a decent, respectable win rate. Even though very early on, this was a ship I got very early on, so some of these were some poor matches. But you can see main gun accuracy was 35%, and you will see that's Japanese. Also, me playing earlier, not in the most ideal form, but also that's just Japanese accuracy. You'll get salvos out of it where you'll deb strike the crap out of everybody, and then you'll have other ones at 10 kilometers where you shoot somebody and it scares the crud out of them, but they didn't even take a shell. Just spotted, outlined them with shells. And you can see, even for this being an early ship for me, very early on, I was a terrible player. Just so you guys are aware, I think I had like a 35% win rate. I literally just shot everything completely broadside when I first started playing, and you can see, even with that being said, my average in this for tier 5 is pretty respectable. I average 90,000 damage. Even with my old stats, I average 90,000 damage every time I go out in this. And it's that's pretty much it. That's just what this ship is good for. It's good for throwing out 90,000 to 100 every time you go out. You can get some really wicked games out of it. I haven't as played as this as much recently since I've become better as a player, but you can see you can get quite a bit of damage. In potential damage on this, you can see you want to be right around 1 million on a battleship, so you're taking heat away from your teammates. And the potential damage 2.1 on the max. Now, we're going to get to the ship here, or to the match, but before we do, I want to show the armor on this. So, this actually is more armored than what it looks, guys, because if you take off the bow is 26, so pretty much I think everything overmatches at tier 5. I could be wrong. But the reason this is more armored than what it looks is you have this little side plating also protecting the side, your torpedo bulge here. So you get 32 extra. So the only thing that can overmatch that would be 18.1. So Musashi and um, Yamato, and you're not running across them. So, you know, that will, you can even do, you get that extra. But this is where it comes in because behind that, you have this, we'll get down to it. Oh, let's undo, let's get this right here. Let's get her belt. Where is the armor belt? There we go. 299 on your armor belt. And it is very, you can bounce a lot of shells in this if you're angled. There's not much you have to worry about with this armor. This is a Citadel, and you can hit this thing up for close pretty good. But for the most part, this Citadel, I don't get Citadel in this very much. At tier 5, as long as you're angled well with the good armor that this thing has, you are more than fine with it. Uh, in not going to have an issue as long as you're not going completely broadside. As we go ahead and check the other ships and start this battle, it is disclaimer time. This is a beginner's guide with my opinions on how to play and build this ship to help people who need help. This is not for people who think they already know everything about the game. There isn't just one way to play or build any ship. Also, I am just a above average player, not a perfect player. I make mistakes. You're gonna see some in the game. I'm sure of it. Also, I slaughter beautiful languages as good as anyone. It's almost an art form how great I am at wrecking languages. So prepare yourselves. Now, that was a little bit longer intro before we got into the match just because of the new Musashi build, and I really like that build. And you're going to see that in here because you could tell before in the intro I leveled her up. So she wasn't even fully leveled up at the time yet. And I think this is going to be huge down the road in my Japanese battleships. I'm going to use it quite a bit, I'm pretty sure. It just, after my first match, I noticed when I shoot guys, go ahead and look at my overpins and my full penetrations on the right hand side. So the first one that you'll see is full pins, the second one is over pins, and I'm getting way more full pins, especially on the cruisers and other stuff. Now this is going to be a short match, as you're going to see, but this is a good example of what I'm talking about in this thing, that it can be super powerful. And again, the character instantly focuses on me. There is an Omaha right here. Now, I don't see any other ships. I'm trying to go dark behind this mountain and kind of sneak out on them, but the carrier won't leave me alone, so this broadside maneuver, not ideal. Luckily, I don't pay for it, but if you guys want to see a magic trick, I'm about to show you how to disappear, make a ship disappear. Now, we put on our spotter, and that guy is definitely Magic Man. Now you see him, now you don't. You can see 2 full pens. Even though my shots hit the mountain with that spotter plane, you can see the accuracy was really good. With what I got past, and I didn't overpin every shell on a fully broadside Omaha, which can definitely happen on Japanese battleships. So we get a shot out. The Queen Elizabeth turns in, and I do see the Trento coming in, who's going straight in. So I want to get turned. Because I know at some point there's probably going to get torps, and there is the carrier. Now this Trento, I haven't seen go sideways at all yet from when I was looking, when I was paying attention in the match. So he's sideways right there. We make him pay. Now look at these, look at that. We get 3 full pins on a broadside at 5 kilometers. Normally that is over pin central. That is why I like the Musashi build, and of course we eat the Trento's torps. We talked about that in the videos just recently in the Italian line. Them Italian cruiser torps, they can catch people off guard. I didn't even see where he went sideways to even let him go, because that set was not from right when he went broadside. They're way too slow. He had to have let them go a while ago. But even on the carrier, 4 full penetrations, 1 overpin on my first salvo. I think he was trying to stay out behind or tried to stay behind that island, and he may have just messed up. But he has been targeting me the whole match, and I want him gone. He's been, we didn't do damage until, also, if you look, we didn't do any damage to like 13 and a half minutes, and we're already at 80,000 2 minutes later. Just taking smart shots and getting full penetrations. And that is definitely the difference. Even on that shot, which I got some overpins, I still got full penetrations on it. I got my high cal. So 2.5 minutes into shooting with this thing, I got a high caliber. Now that Mackenzie out there, I'm focused on the aircraft carrier for two reasons. First, he's annoying to me, and you can see even with him totally focused on me, I only get 2 aircraft shot down. That's why I'm not a big fan of the AA on this. But that Mackenzie also was out at a weird different distance at like 12 kilometers, 13. They can be a little harder to citadel there. And the German battleships, I kind of want them out at distance or in real close, and then I'll start citadeling. And I have not focused on this guy, so he doesn't think I'm going to shoot him. And he is not correct in that assumption as he goes broadside to me. And you can see 6 full penetrations and 1 overpen. The difference on Musashi for me is night and day on this thing. Now, you obviously can do a lot of damage with Tagagi. And as you can see, we are closing in, and we're going to take one more shot. And he is not angled enough. And you can see that is the end of him. But I really like that build. I really like this ship a lot. I think a lot of people do. But only in like 3.5 minutes, we did 128,000 damage. I'm not a damage guy, but there was only 1 destroyer, and it really helped our team to get rid of them guys. Anyway, hopefully this helps you out. We'll see you next time. Have a good one, folks.